last week about how your hormones and inflammation are putting you in a fat storing stage, which basically makes it almost impossible to lose weight. Now, today we're going to talk about how digestion really influences those hormones and your inflammation level. But let's go ahead and dive into the topic at hand. I'm pretty excited about this. So digestion, so many people that I run into have some sort of digestive issues. And it's crazy because they don't really realize how it's affecting their ability to lose weight. So guys, if you're one of those people that maybe don't go to the bathroom, like maybe you go every couple days, or maybe every few days, or maybe you have bloating, just cramping, constipation, whatever, or just loose bowels, all these things are signs and symptoms that you have digestive issues. And a lot of times we just ignore them, or it's something that it's kind of a little bit taboo. We don't really like to talk about. But these are all signs that you have digestive issues. And I want to help you understand that's not normal. If you're not going regularly on a daily basis, there's probably some problems that we need to really address. And those are going to affect your hormones and inflammation level. And overall, put you in that fat storing stage where it makes it almost impossible to lose weight. It's so frustrating. And then it leads to all those mental battles that we talked about last week. So I want to help you get free from that. And that's what our goal is here today. So let me give you just a little bit of rundown on Digestion 101. Hopefully this will make sense. I don't want it to go over anybody's head, but I basically printed up this paper to kind of show you, and hopefully that you can kind of see it. But I'm going to go over like how digestion works, and then help backtrack a little bit, help you understand how it's influencing your hormones in a negative way and driving more of that inflammation. So let me start right here. Okay, in the saliva, you have those digestive enzymes. So as you start to put food in your mouth, you're smelling food or thinking about it, you're already starting to get prepared for digestion. So that's the beginning. And then you add on to the parts of like you're chewing the food. So that's part of your digestion. And then it makes its way through into the stomach. Now we have stomach acid or hydrochloric acid. You guys are probably aware of this. So we got stomach acid, and the food moves through the stomach acid, goes into our small intestines, and from there, our small intestines, guys, is where we absorb nutrients. So remember I said last week that if you don't properly assimilate, digest, and absorb nutrients or those calories that you're eating, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're putting in less calories, you're not going to be able to assimilate, digest, and absorb and use those calories for the proper energy that you need. So we want to be able to absorb the nutrients and absorb those calories that we're eating. So the small intestines is where we do that, okay? Once that food gets into the small intestine, here's what I want you to see, guys, and I don't know if you can, but you can see right here that, I'll kneel right here, but you can see that you have your liver, your gallbladder, you have your pancreas right here, and all of them are connected by like a tube. So your pancreas has a tube that kind of runs into one main tube, like a tunnel type thing, and then that tube connects into the small intestines. That's very, very important to know. So hold on to that thought, because what happens is once the food gets into there, your pancreas releases bicarbonate and more digestive enzymes. The bicarbonate is going to help neutralize the acidity of the food or from the acid that you had from your stomach. And the digestive enzymes are going to help break down that food even further. Okay, now the liver releases what's called bile from the liver, and bile also helps break down and emulsify fats, so that way your body can absorb the fatty acids and use them for rebuilding hormones and doing all the cellular functions that it needs, right? So bile plays a huge, huge role. And here we see your gallbladder. Now, a lot of times, gallbladder is the #1 elected surgery on the planet right now. It's like people are ripping their gallbladders out right and left. And if you go to the doctor and you have some sort of gallstones, they're like, let's rip your gallbladder out. But guys, your gallbladder plays such a huge role in digestion. And if you can figure out how to get your digestion working properly, you can solve the gallbladder issues most of the time. So your gallbladder is like a storage tank of bile, and whenever you're digesting food, the body releases some of that bile to help emulsify the fats. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. You have all this digestion going on. This is kind of the process of it. So what I want to help you understand, let's back up and how you might be asking, well, how does this affect my hormones and all that? So that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it. Give me some knuckle bumps. Boom. That wasn't funny. Okay, so let's back up here. So here's where it's interesting. If you have compromised digestion from the very get-go, so let's just say you could have compromised digestion when, let's say you have a lot of stress in your life or a toxic load, and you're not producing the right amount of digestive enzymes from the get-go, or you're not chewing your mouth up, you're not chewing your food up properly, you're not chewing mindfully. Like if you're anything like me, like growing up, I pretty much inhaled food. My mom used to say, "Hey Jason, you need to slow down. You just woof it down, or you don't even chew it, you just swallow it." Well, little did I know how important it was to really slow down and chew your food, because basically you need time for those digestive enzymes to start to go to work. And you need to really just chew that food down properly, so that way you don't have all these undigested food particles. What happens when some of that stuff starts to break down, and maybe you have low stomach acid, or maybe you don't have very acidic stomach acid, you might have compromised digestion up here. Okay, when that happens, what you start to have undigested particles. One of the liver's job is to detox different toxins and bacteria and different undigested particles. It goes through the liver, and the liver's got to detox that, right? So if you have, over time, have a lot of these undigested particles and different toxins and stuff that are accumulated, what happens is the liver starts to get sluggish, okay? The liver gets backed up, and it starts to get congested with all these different toxins and different undigested particles. Well, when the liver gets congested, this is where we start having problems. And this is where you're going to start seeing it all tie together. So hopefully just bear with me. If you can stick with me till the end, you'll be very glad you did, because it's going to really help you understand why it's influencing those hormones. Okay, so remember I talked to you about those tubules? Okay, the liver releases bile to help emulsify those fats. Well, a lot of times when the liver gets congested, the liver starts to slow down and get sluggish, and then you also get bile that starts to get real thick and really hard and emulsified. And this is where you start to see like gallstones or things like that are backing up into the bile ducts, and the bile ducts are getting clogged. Okay, now you can see here the pancreas releases those digestive enzymes, and now that's getting clogged. Now the pancreas can't release digestive enzymes in there, and now that digestion system's not working. So now you're not getting much bile into the small intestine. So the stomach has to respond and say, okay, well, we're going to hold off on stomach acid. So it actually lowers the amount of stomach acid and compromises your digestion even further up here in your stomach. And therefore, now we've affected the liver. And here's where it gets interesting, guys, because remember, the liver does like over 500 different functions in the body. Some of the big key things that the liver does, and I'm just going to name a few, but it regulates blood sugar. So we talked about last week, insulin resistance, diabetes, things of that nature, and your ability to burn fat efficiently and use carbohydrates for energy is going to be really directly impacted by your ability, whether you're insulin sensitive or whether you're insulin resistant. And the liver actually regulates your blood sugar and helps you to make you insulin sensitive. So when you're insulin resistant, you're going to store more fat, right? We talked about that. The liver also converts certain hormones like your thyroid. Remember last week I talked about thyroid, and thyroid affects your whole metabolism. If thyroid's low, everything's going to slow down. Your heart rate's going to slow down. Your liver function's slowing down. Your cardiovascular system slows down. So therefore, you're going to be storing more fat because you're burning less calories just by default of having low thyroid. Your liver is what does the conversion of that thyroid. And if your liver's congested, you're not going to convert the inactive form of your thyroid into its active form, and you're going to have low thyroid function, which means you're going to store more fat. Okay, it's also a big, huge, one of the big jobs is it converts soluble fat hormones or vitamins like vitamin D. Vitamin D is a steroid hormone when it first comes into your body, and the liver has to convert that into its active form as well. And then you look at it, your liver produces ketones, and then like I said, it detoxes your entire body. So when you start to have compromised digestion, this is where you're going to start to see an influence in hormones. Remember, we talked about insulin resistance. So if you're insulin resistant, you have high inflammation and you have low thyroid, that's going to impact your stress hormones. Your stress hormones are going to impact your sex hormones, which are fat burning hormones like growth hormone and testosterone. Those are all going to tank, while all these like fat storing hormones like estrogen are going to rise. You're going to have those stress levels up. You're going to have leptin decrease while ghrelin increases. Those are hormones that are satiety hormones. So you can see how things really start to get out of whack. And then this leads to a whole host of like a cascade of horrible negative effects, because now when you have all this inflammation and so forth, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable for leaky gut. You've probably heard this like talked about a lot, but it's where your gut lining starts to open up and allow all these undigested particles. You're going to be more vulnerable to autoimmune problems, cancer, you name it, diabetes. All these things are like just basically a cascade effect of like digestive issues and inflammation. And so I'm hoping that that isn't really scaring you, but the point is actually there's really hope. The goal is my whole goal with this talk, guys, is if I can encourage you to heal your body and reboot your digestive system, help recreate hormonal balance, and lower inflammation, that's going to provide your body an environment to work properly like it should. Then you're going to be able to use those calories that you're putting in for energy like your body was meant to, and you're going to be more of a fat burning person than a fat storing person. When inflammation and insulin resistance is high, you're not properly able to burn fat for fuel. We want to do is get your body used to burning fat and using fat for a fuel source. And guys, I want to help you understand this. When you heal your body, it is not that difficult to maintain lean body mass. I know some of you are looking at me like, dude, you're crazy. Because you think, oh, you're Jason, you've been in shape for a while, it's easy for you guys. And I'm telling you, if you watched my lifestyle and you understood the habits that I've created, you wouldn't say that. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way. What I'm saying is that it's all about getting your body in an environment where it can work properly, and then it can be very easy to maintain. And so I say that to give you hope, but here's the trick. Is it takes some long-term thinking and allowing your body long enough to be able to heal and recover. Most people have too short-term of a thinking. They want the quick fix and they want it now, right? So would you be willing to do the right habits long enough, maybe over a course of a year, develop some habits, just things that they seem simple, but if you do them consistently long enough, you'll start to put your body in an environment where it can heal itself. It's those 5 lifestyle factors that I talk about all the time, guys, and it's nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, and toxins. Those lifestyle factors are affecting your digestion, the stress or whatever. It's affecting your body's ability to digest food, and compromising digestion is creating hormonal imbalance and driving up inflammation, chronic inflammation in the body. So if you can develop habits in those 5 areas, then things like just getting to bed and just giving an average of like 7 to 8 hours sleep on a regular basis. There's going to be times when you don't have that happen, but if you can work out for 30 to 45 minutes, maybe like 3 times a week, rather than trying to be in the gym all the time. See, it's not about more. Everybody thinks that I need to pull the more button. And it's so hard. I was talking to, Sarah, I was talking to Chris today about this, because people have this mindset where it's so much about like, well, I got to burn more calories, because they've got the calories in, calories out mindset. They're thinking, well, I got to do more. I got to do more. I have these groups of ladies that are training. They're like, well, I gotta burn like 600, I've only burned 600 calories, And I'm thinking in my mind, guys, if you only knew, it has little to do with how many calories that you're putting in your body, has everything to do with being more efficient and being smart and healing your body. Then it can become easier to maintain. If I could just get their minds to wrap around that concept, but it's so hard because we've been ingrained in that. We're looking at the scale all the time. And so we're looking at how many calories that we're burning. Guys, I rarely count calories. I just developed habits that I eat really good majority of the time. I train 3 to 4 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. I get really good sleep, and I try to eliminate a lot of the toxins out of my life. Think about it, if you develop habits over a course of a year, it's not like an all or nothing thing. You know, like people go into these like up and down. The problem is we're like, they live bad lifestyle habits and they get their place in themselves in a place where they have all these, this inflammation and their body's not like really working properly. And so they like, they're overweight, they're not where they want to be. So then they go all crazy where they're all in for like, you know, maybe a month or so, and they get burnt out and they're trying to do everything all at once, and that's just not sustainable. And then most of the time when they're cutting calories, they're actually driving more inflammation, more hormonal imbalances, which is making it harder for them to actually lose the weight that they're trying to accomplish. So really the thing that they're wanting, it's counterproductive. They're actually going against what they're trying to accomplish just by doing some of those things. But if you can really create those small little manageable habits over a year's time, think of how many habits that you'll have created, and your body composition will start to change. You'll start to put on more lean muscle mass and lose body fat because your body's operating like it should be. That's the hope that I want to give you guys, to be able to take that mental struggle of wanting to lose weight off of you, that it doesn't have to be that difficult. Once your body is operating like it should be and you're burning fat, you have hormonal balance, then you can be a little bit more flexible in some of this stuff. Like I love the ketogenic diet for a lot of reasons, because it lowers inflammation and gets your body used to using fat. But once you get to that point, you don't have to be on the ketogenic diet all the time. I think it's a great tool to use, but I like to cycle it in myself personally, and you can be a little bit more flexible. And maybe my off-plan meal, I might have one once every couple weeks. That's kind of just the way I've gotten into the habit of doing that. And then it's real freeing because food doesn't have control over you anymore. You have control over it. And every time you eat something bad, you actually start to feel like really crappy. And so you really don't want that type of stuff anymore. Anybody that is, done this for a little while, you can probably totally relate, because Trisha's a great example of that. She was talking about the same thing. She's like, man, she struggled with it. When she first started with me, she said, Jason, this is like a mountain that I can't see over. Like, I don't know how to get over this. Like, this whole stuff that you're telling me that's simple, I can't even relate with that. But because she's developed those habits over the course of the year, she's starting to understand what I was talking about. Feel free to give me some comments, put them in the comment section below, and share the heck out of it. Thanks for jumping on, guys. I really appreciate it. We're peacing out. See you guys.